Oh, this looks kind of interesting.
In bobsleigh, luge, and skeleton, collectively known as the sliding sports, crashes are an inevitability.
Tearing down the hill! Oh my goodness!
It's traumatic, it's aggressive, it's anything that is extreme.
Dude! Guys, nobody dies in here, right? Nobody gets injured, like they don't show it, right? Surely.
Times 10. To think that somebody has gone to the Olympics without having had an episode like a crash is very unlikely.
Wowzers.
Christina Smith is a trailblazer in the sport of bobsled.
One of the most experienced drivers in the field.
But in the years since she's retired, she started to experience troubling symptoms.
Long-term, short-term memory loss, anxiety, fear, depression, the inability to really stay focused and have emotional regulation.
Eventually, she was diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury, even though she'd never once been diagnosed with a concussion.
Just the fact that I was losing something of myself that I didn't realize potentially could have been contributed to the effects of the multiple runs, multiple vibrations, the concussions that actually I'd never been diagnosed with my entire career.
There's growing evidence that when it comes to the sliding sports, catastrophic concussions like the ones you get from crashing might not be the main driver of brain injury. Micro concussions are.
Hi, XQC.
Concussions so mild they can often go unnoticed, and so common that they have a special name, sledhead.
Oh, when you...
To understand how sledhead happens, you have to know how concussions work. Your brain is soft, with a jello-like consistency. Normally, it's pretty well protected by layers of bone and tissue. But if your head gets hit, or shook around, or just moves too fast, your brain can shift inside its protective casing, bumping up against the sides of your skull. When that happens, the fragile neurons that make up your brain can stretch or even tear. And when they tear, they release toxins that can harm other neurons, triggering a chain reaction of damage and leaving your brain vulnerable to further injury. Concussions are serious and come with scary side effects.
Jesus.
But for the most part, they heal with time and rest. The problem is, not all concussions are obvious.
Hey, if you got out of that sled and you're just a little bit dizzy and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm good, and you're full of adrenaline, and essentially if you have the will and the desire to get back up and dust yourself off and do it again, so be it.
But even a mild concussion is a concussion. And if it's not given the time to heal, the damage can become more serious and cause more enduring symptoms.
That kind of scattered brain and, inability to focus. So a lot of those little things.
It's all those little things that make up sledhead. From the outside, sledding sports look smooth. A graceful, if fast, run down an icy track.
Okay, but that's like wicked insane.
Sled, things look and feel very different. Sledding is, in a way, inherently brain-rattling. Even during the smoothest ride, a sledder is tossed about, shaken, bumped, whipped around corners.
It's so extreme that if you haven't gone to the bathroom, if you haven't blown your nose, and if you haven't stretched, you have no idea what's going to happen to you.
There's lots of bouncing and people moving quickly. The heads are going everywhere.
Peter McCarthy is a neurophysiologist whose research focuses on how various forces affect our bodies. He told me that sledding is a lot like a very, very intense roller coaster.
They're rickety and they've got lots of vibrations and they've got high G turns.
G as in G-force. Roughly the force of gravity or acceleration on an object.
I dove into the shallow end of a pool
Going for
a
a
few
stroll on
summers
Earth,
ago, and
you're
now this
experiencing
video
1
is
G-force.
scaring the shit out
Riding
of me.
an average roller coaster,
Thanks,
around
Sex.
5. Military fighter pilots average 9 Gs. And the average football
9G
player
average.
receives 103 Gs when hit during a game. The G-force of an average concussion is hard to measure.
I'm actually surprised that you're only getting 103 Gs, which is only 10 times what you're normally just getting, but just sitting down at all times.
Average 9 Gs. And the
only 10 times. It's not... Guys, it's 10 times. We're not talking about like hundreds. 10 times is not insane.
football player receives 103 Gs when hit during a game. The G
Guys, 9G compared to 100G. Isn't that 10 times?
force of an average concussion
It's like
is
12
hard to
times.
measure or generalize, but one researcher found that most diagnosed ones have a G-force between 85 and 95. And when another researcher measured the G-force of his own skeleton ride at the Whistler Olympic track, at its highest here, he recorded 84.5 G-force. That spike only happened for a few milliseconds, but spikes like it can happen with every run. And then there are the vibrations. Long-term exposure to vibrations can lead to a range of serious health issues, affecting basically all of your body's systems. There are even international guidelines about how much vibration someone should encounter in a given period. And when Peter attached devices on the helmets, sleds, and backs of skeleton athletes to measure how much they were encountering, preliminary results showed that doing just one run could potentially put you over the limit.
Sled head is a phenomenon which seems to be neurological in nature, and as a consequence you're thinking that maybe the vibrations are getting through into the brain, and that could be the cause of it.
All racing sports deal with both G-force and vibration to a certain extent, but normally they get dispersed throughout your body. When you're in a sled, there's not much between your brain
Yeah, you're in a
and
fucking
the
hard
vibrations.
shell and you're not.
I was so close and
Nothing to
low
absorb.
that I had chips of paint and scratches on the side of my helmet from just tapping going all the way down the track. And so, you know, of course I get out and I haven't had a crash or nothing would happen, but that just built up over time like a snowball.
Years after she stopped sledding, Christina went to a specialist who ran a test
Well,
called
maybe it's
a
time to discontinue
quantitative
the sport.
electroencephalogram, or QEEG.
Guys,
The beauty of this
guys,
is that it can actually...
how do you even come about being a sledder? Guys, you can't be like a 10-year-old wake up in the morning and say, hey, mom, go drop me off
Smile.
at the fucking sled, big-ass thing. Dude, let's go practice fucking bobsledding,
Your
man.
brain is firing,
on.
not firing at all, or partially, or too much.
When doctors analyzed her results, they saw this. Roughly, the red shading correlates to overactivation. In a brain that hadn't experienced trauma, those areas would be white.
It was like a
What do you think is mine?
aha moment for me. It really highlighted, you know, what I had been going through, and I was no longer hard on myself.
Funny.
It was very common to overlook our own experiences because we're always about the show must go on.
There's only so much we can learn from one person's brain scans or the data from a few runs.
It needs an objective
I've had brain scans.
assessment
My brain's pretty
of the
good.
discipline. It's
pretty wicked insane.
Because if we just allow people to keep doing this, we don't know
XQC
if it's
cheer,
safe for
XQC
them
cheer,
to do that
XQC
at the
cheer.
intensity they're doing it.
One way to better look after
Guys,
sledding
add
athletes
multiple
is to
brain scans.
require them to wear a
Multiple.
monitor.
A simple sensor system could detect an impact and have that person immediately flagged for treatment
Chat.
and possibly sitting out.
They could calculate the electricity in multiple waves. Alpha, beta, gamma waves or some shit. And they get all the electric
If someone
signals
told
in
me
what
I'd
areas of
end
the
up
brain.
getting sled
And they can
head, I'd be happy
quantify
thinking I'm getting
the
my dick
signals
sucked.
everywhere,
Until
dude.
they've recovered fully.
And there are some exciting developments in tech, like virtual reality trainings
Or
that
some
can
shit.
reduce ice time, or an FDA-approved collar that increases blood volume in your brain, giving it better cushioning.
Interesting.
In the future, new materials could dampen vibrations in the sled. But the federation that controls sliding sports needs to make these available, or even mandatory.
And I feel that that's a sort of, hopefully, a way forward, but who knows? It depends on international bodies to make these legislative changes and start looking at their athletes
But these people, dude,
as actually things that keep
once
the
you
body
when you
alive.
compete, you give your life to
The
competing,
athletes
man.
are the lifeblood of any sport.
It is what it is,
you
man.
need to protect them, in my mind.
People that, guys, people that throw the ball in baseball, they throw the ball at speeds that the arm shouldn't do, man. It breaks their shoulder, motherfucker. It snaps the entire arm. It is what it is. If you have pitchers, dude, they're literally throwing their limb as fast as they can out of their body. Of course, it rips everything, man. It is. And there's not much you're gonna regulate. People are still gonna throw the ball, man. You know? When you want to compete, you want to be at the top, it is what it is. Yeah, you can make inventions, do this or that, but there's a risk to everything, man. And when you compete at the highest levels, there's increased risk, especially when you do like stuff like football and whatnot. There will be risk, and I think people are okay with that. I think people are okay with that. People live a good life, and yeah, when they're 60, 70, yeah, they get kind of slow or kind of buzzy, but they had a life they probably enjoyed living, man. And I think people can be okay with that, man. I'd be okay with that. If I competed and I was gonna get softy at 65, it is what it is, man. I had a good run. I'm okay. I'm okay. I had a good run. Well, I don't want to say you should die as fast as possible, by damaging your body, but you know, like you can't. And not everybody's gonna live up until 110, and be like, oh guys, I'm getting headaches at 97 years old. Fuck, man. I should have done that. I mean, no, really, that doesn't make sense.
Play some Tarkov PUBG.